Life doesn't punish you loudly when you ignore what matters. It punishes you silently. Not with pain, but with wasted potential. Not with loss, but with the slow erosion of self-respect every time you delay what's important. Every time you say later, and you teach your brain that comfort is more valuable than purpose. And that is how greatness dies, not with failure, but with distraction. Most people live like professional avoiders. They fill their days with noise, tasks, errands, everything, except the one thing that could change their life. They're not lazy. They're unfocused. They're addicted to what's easy, not what's essential. But let me tell you something Napoleon Hill discovered a century ago, and it's as true now as it was then. Every successful man must learn to force himself to do what he should do when he doesn't feel like doing it. You see, discipline isn't punishment. It's protection. It protects your dreams from your moods, from your destiny, from your excuses, your greatness from your comfort. And here's the truth. You will never feel ready to do the important things. You will never wake up one morning magically motivated. You have to move first. Action creates emotion, not the other way around. So this isn't just a message about working harder. It's about working smarter, clearer, and truer to your purpose. Because when you force yourself to do what's important only, you stop wasting time on noise and start building a life that actually means something. In this journey, you'll learn how to break the invisible habit of avoidance, how to focus on what moves your life forward, and how to command your energy like a general directing an army. This is not a speech about motivation. This is a training for your mind. Because the man who controls what he focuses on controls everything else that follows. You will feel resistance. Your brain will scream for comfort. But beyond that moment lies freedom. The freedom to know that you did what mattered today, that you didn't waste another sunrise, that you are building something worthy of your name. So take a breath, center your mind, and get ready to learn how to do the hardest yet most rewarding thing in life, to force yourself to do what truly matters. Every time you avoid what matters, something in you becomes weaker. You may not see it in the mirror today. You may not feel it immediately. But deep down, something quiet inside you begins to decay. It's not failure that destroys people. It's avoidance. Failure teaches. Avoidance erases. Avoidance doesn't just waste time. It eats your confidence, your discipline, your self-trust. You start to feel restless, anxious, unsatisfied, and you don't even know why. That's the silent punishment of avoidance. You scroll your phone, check your messages, reorganize your desk, anything to escape the one thing you should be doing. And at the end of the day, you tell yourself, I was busy, but deep down you know, you weren't productive, you were hiding. The mind is clever. It will invent 1,000 ways to avoid discomfort, even when that discomfort is the door to your next level. It whispers, you can do it later, maybe after a break. Let's wait until you're in the mood. But later never comes. And waiting for the right mood is like waiting for the wind to build your house. Avoidance feels safe because it protects you from the short-term pain of effort, but it steals your long-term peace of mind. Every time you postpone something meaningful, you send your brain a message, this is too hard for me. And your brain believes it. So the next time you face the same challenge, the resistance grows stronger. You're training yourself to hesitate, to surrender before the battle even begins. Napoleon Hill warned about this in Outwitting the Devil. He called it drifting, the state of mind where a person avoids decisions, avoids purpose, and lets the world decide their fate. Hill said, "The drifter takes the path of least resistance, but resistance is where the power is built. When you drift long enough, you begin to lose respect for yourself, and that's the real cost. Not lost time, but lost identity, because nothing kills a man's spirit faster than knowing what he should do and still not doing it. The pain of discipline weighs ounces. The pain of regret weighs tons. Every act of avoidance compounds into self-doubt. Every act of action compounds into self-respect. When you do what's important, even when it's uncomfortable, your brain learns a new story. I do hard things. I can trust myself. That story is priceless. It's the foundation of confidence, of leadership, of mastery. People think motivation builds confidence, but it's not motivation, it's execution. Every time you follow through, you teach your mind that your word means something. That's how mental strength is forged, not by talking, but by doing. Avoidance isn't laziness. It's fear wearing a mask, fear of failure, fear of imperfection, fear of judgment. But here's the irony: by avoiding the thing that scares you, you make it scarier. Action shrinks fear. Inaction feeds it. There's a simple law of the mind. Whatever you avoid, you give power to. Think about that. If you avoid the conversation, it grows heavier. If you avoid the task, it feels bigger. If you avoid your purpose, life feels emptier. But the moment you act even imperfectly, the weight lifts. Clarity replaces anxiety. Momentum replaces guilt. Because the brain was never built for avoidance. It was built for progress. If you've ever wondered why you feel stuck, why you feel like something inside you is quietly pulling you backward, look not at what you're doing, but at what you're avoiding. You can't escape the work that matters. You can delay it, but it waits for you, and the longer you avoid it, the louder the guilt becomes. So here's the truth: avoidance doesn't protect your peace, it poisons it. Every later is a silent promise broken. Every excuse is a quiet act of self-betrayal. The solution isn't more motivation, it's more movement. You don't need to feel ready to act. You act to become ready, and every step you take, no matter how small, is a declaration: I am done running from what matters. The world makes way, Hill wrote, for the man who knows where he is going and refuses to stop. Stop drifting. Stop waiting. Stop pretending you have more time. Because the cost of avoidance is your life paid in small, quiet installments. And the only way to stop paying is to start doing what truly matters. Your mind is a master negotiator. It will always try to talk you out of what's hard. It will whisper 1,000 logical excuses. You're tired? You've done enough. You can start tomorrow. And if you listen long enough, it will win. That's why success never comes to the most intelligent. It comes to the most decisive, to the ones who act even when they don't feel like it. Napoleon Hill said it best: you cannot think your way into discipline. You must act your way into it. You see, your emotions are followers, not leaders. But most people spend their lives waiting to feel right before they act right. They wait for motivation before moving, and that's why they never move. Motivation is the reward, not the requirement. You earn it after you act, not before. Action comes first. Emotion catches up. When you force your body to move, your mind begins to obey. That's how you reprogram the brain. You teach it that motion overrides emotion. You don't need to feel inspired to take action. You need to act to feel inspired. Think of it like this. A rocket doesn't lift off because it feels ready. It lifts off because it ignites, and once it's in motion, the energy builds by itself. That's how discipline works. You light the spark, then the fire sustains itself. But here's the trick. Your mind will resist at first. It will scream, complain, find distractions. It will tell you that you're not in the mood, that the timing isn't right. That's your comfort zone, fighting for survival. Understand this. Your comfort zone isn't a location. It's a mental prison. It's every story your brain tells you to justify staying average. The only way out is to act before your brain catches up. That's why the greatest warriors, entrepreneurs, and creators have one rule: I move before I feel like it. They don't ask, do I want to? They ask, is it necessary? If it's necessary, they move, period. Because when you start acting on what's necessary instead of what's comfortable, your whole life changes trajectory. Most people overthink themselves into inaction. They analyze until every option feels wrong. Every path looks risky. And every choice seems impossible. But the truth is simple. Clarity doesn't come from thinking, it comes from doing. You can't think your way into progress. You can only move your way into it. The mind learns through experience, not imagination. So the fastest way to build clarity is to take one small action now. Write the email, make the call, go for the run, start the page, begin. Once motion begins, hesitation dies, and once hesitation dies, momentum is born. Here's something most people never realize. Your mind doesn't hate work, it hates starting. The hardest part of any task isn't doing it, it's beginning it. But once you begin, your resistance fades. You fall into rhythm. Your focus sharpens. Your energy rises. It's as if the universe rewards those who take the first step. Hill called this definiteness of decision. The ability to say I will instead of I might, because I will has power. It cuts off hesitation, kills excuses, and commands action. Every time you act despite resistance, you strengthen that muscle. You make it easier next time, and eventually it becomes automatic. Your brain learns that hesitation is no longer your habit. Think of your mind as a wild horse. It doesn't become obedient through words. It becomes obedient through consistent direction. You train it, guide it, and keep it moving forward until one day it moves with you, not against you. And that's when life changes. You stop needing motivation. You stop waiting for perfect timing. You stop being a prisoner of feelings. You act because it's who you are. That's the shift from struggle to power. A man who acts in spite of fear, Hill wrote, develops courage. A man who acts in spite of doubt develops faith. You can't think your way into faith. You earn it through motion. So the next time your brain says, not now, remember that's your cue to begin. Not later. Not when you feel better. No, because the moment you move, you win. And when you force your mind to move anyway, you stop being controlled by comfort and start commanding your destiny. Before you can earn respect from the world, you must first earn it from yourself. And self-respect isn't built through words, wishes, or intentions. It's built through action. Every time you follow through on what you said you'd do, every time you choose effort over excuse, you lay another brick in the foundation of your self-respect, and when that foundation becomes solid, you stop chasing validation from others because you've already proven yourself to yourself. Most people think self-confidence is a gift. It's not. It's a debt you repay to yourself through action. You lose confidence when you break promises to yourself. When you say, "I'll start tomorrow," and you don't. When you say, "I'll stay consistent," and then drift. Each broken promise chips away at the respect you have for the person in the mirror. That's why so many feel lost, anxious, and disconnected. They're not at war with the world, they're at war with their own reflection. Napoleon Hill wrote, "Your only real limitation is the one you set up in your own mind. And the most destructive limitation of all is the quiet belief that you can't trust yourself to follow through." So how do you rebuild that trust? Not with motivation, not with affirmations, but with proof. Proof that when you say you'll do something, you do it, even if it's small, even if no one sees it. Wake up on time when you said you would. Finish the task you started. Keep your word, especially to yourself. Every completed promise is a deposit in your confidence account. And like compounding interest, it grows faster than you expect. At first, it's subtle. You'll start standing taller. You'll notice your inner voice shifting from doubt to certainty. You'll begin to feel alignment, the calm power that comes from living in integrity. But let me be clear. Self-respect doesn't come from perfection. It comes from persistence. You will fail. You will fall. You will miss days. But every time you stand back up, that's a victory. Every time you recommit instead of quitting, that's strength. People who succeed aren't the ones who never fall. They're the ones who refuse to stay down long enough to doubt themselves. When you act in spite of difficulty, and you teach your subconscious a powerful truth, I am reliable, I am capable, I can count on me. That's the moment you stop needing to be inspired, because you've become the source of your own inspiration. Think about a soldier in training. Every rep, every drill, every push-up isn't just about muscle. It's about trust. It's about knowing that when the real test comes, he can depend on himself to show up and fight. That's what discipline really is. Not punishment, but preparation. You're training your brain to obey your higher self. Not your moods, not your comfort, not your excuses. Because there's no worse pain than watching yourself shrink every time you know what needs to be done and don't do it. And there's no greater peace than knowing you did what mattered even when it was hard. Hill once said, "Action is the real measure of intelligence." You can know everything in the world, but if you can't act on what you know, your wisdom turns to dust. That's why great men don't just think, they execute. They make decisions and move. They trust their word. Because when you trust your own decisions, how you no longer fear failure, you see it as feedback. You no longer seek permission. You give it to yourself. So if you want to rebuild your power, start here. Keep the smallest promises you make to yourself. Start with one. Do it daily. Protect it like your life depends on it, because it does. Because when you learn to respect yourself through consistent action, something miraculous happens. The world starts to respect you too. They sense it in your tone, in your presence, in your energy. You don't have to prove anything. You radiate proof. And that's the true reward of self-discipline, not the success it brings, but the peace that comes from knowing you can always count on you. The man who does more than he is paid to do, Hill wrote, "Will soon be paid for more than he does, but the real payment isn't money. It's pride, it's power, it's peace. So build that respect one act at a time. Because once you learn to trust yourself, you become unstoppable." Most people don't fail because they're lazy. They fail because they waste energy on things that don't matter. Busyness has become the new form of procrastination. We fill our days with motion meetings, messages, minor tasks. But none of it moves us closer to what truly matters. Napoleon Hill warned about this illusion of progress when he said, "A man's real measure of success is not how busy he is, but how effective he is with his time." If you study the world's most successful thinkers, creators, and builders, you'll find one common trait: they don't do everything. They do the essential. They understand that energy is currency, and you either invest it into growth or spend it on distraction. Let me ask you something. How many of your daily actions actually move you closer to your dream, not keep you comfortable, not make you look productive, but truly move you forward? When you strip away the noise, most people are trapped in what Hill called organized confusion. They mistake motion for meaning. They're always doing something but never getting anywhere. Every time you say yes to what doesn't matter, you're silently saying no to what does. That's why success begins with subtraction, not addition. It's not about doing more, it's about doing less, but better. Imagine your life as a ship. If every day you keep adjusting your sails towards small, random destinations, you'll drift endlessly. But if you lock your compass to one definite direction, you'll arrive faster, even if the wind isn't perfect. That's the power of definiteness of purpose. It's Hill's first law of achievement, to know exactly what you want and direct every thought, every action toward it. Without direction, discipline is wasted. You can work hard and still go nowhere. So start asking yourself daily, does this move me closer to my purpose or just keep me busy? If it doesn't move you forward, eliminate it. If it doesn't align with your definite purpose, delegate it. If it doesn't matter in 5 years, stop giving it 5 minutes. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Most people are addicted to distraction because focus feels dangerous. When you focus, you're forced to confront the truth about where you are and where you've been avoiding growth. That's why people check their phones every few minutes, scroll endlessly, and chase one new idea after another. It's not lack of time, it's lack of clarity. You can't focus on what matters if you don't know what matters. So get clear. Write down your top 3 priorities, not 30, not 10, just 3. Then commit to doing something for those 3 every single day. That's how consistency compounds into transformation. Focus is not a talent, it's a practice. It's something you train, like a muscle. And the more you protect it, the stronger it becomes. Every notification you ignore is a rep of discipline. Every distraction you say no to is a moment of freedom earned. Every hour of deep focus builds the mental toughness that separates leaders from drifters. Hill said, concentration is the magic key that transforms ordinary effort into extraordinary results. Because scattered effort is powerless, but concentrated effort can move mountains. If you look at the wealthiest and most effective people in history, Carnegie, Edison, Ford, they weren't superhuman. They were simply directed. They knew exactly what mattered. And they refused to be seduced by anything that didn't serve their mission. That's why Hill called it the power of a single purpose. It's not about balance, It's about priority. You don't need balance when your purpose gives your life direction. You need alignment when your time, energy, and focus serve one aim. Focus is the ultimate amplifier. It turns hours into progress and progress into momentum. When you learn to focus only on what moves you forward, your days become simpler, but your results multiply. You stop running in circles. You stop confusing movement with mastery. You stop trying to do everything and start doing the right things. And here's the secret. When you master focus, you no longer need motivation. You don't chase results, you create them. So, eliminate the noise, refuse the distractions. Train your mind to stay fixed on what truly matters, because every minute you give to what's unimportant is a minute stolen from the life you're meant to build. And as Hill wrote, you either control your mind or your mind controls you. The man who controls his focus controls his future. Discipline is not about punishment, it's about training your mind to love what matters. The difference between those who struggle and those who thrive isn't that the successful never feel resistance, it's that they've learned to associate discipline with pleasure and distraction with pain. Your brain is a servant. It learns whatever you repeat. If every time you work on something important you sigh, complain, or resist, your brain learns. This is suffering, but if you approach your priorities with focus, pride, and gratitude, it learns, this is who I am. You can't wait for motivation to love the right things. You have to train your mind to love them through repetition and meaning. Napoleon Hill called this process auto-suggestion, the art of feeding your mind with the thoughts you wanted to obey. Whatever you think about consistently, you start to feel. Whatever you feel repeatedly, you start to believe. And whatever you believe, you start to act upon automatically. That's how habits are born, not from willpower, but from emotional association. If you link discipline with struggle, you'll run from it. But if you link discipline with pride, purpose, and peace, you'll start craving it. Because the truth is, your mind is not built to seek comfort, it's built to seek reward. And you decide what reward means. You can teach your brain that scrolling, escaping, and avoiding are cheap dopamine hits that fade fast. But real joy, lasting joy, comes from progress, mastery, and integrity. That's why Hill wrote, no man can rise to success without first mastering his own mind. Mastery begins the moment you start retraining your associations. When you finish a workout, don't just move on, acknowledge it. When you complete a task, say to yourself, this is what winning feels like. Your mind listens. And the more you reward the right behavior, the faster it becomes automatic. Soon, what once felt like effort becomes your nature. There's a powerful shift that happens when you stop asking, how can I make this easier, and start asking, how can I fall in love with this? Because the truth is, you'll never win a war against your own habits if you secretly hate the process. Winners don't fight discipline. They befriend it. They find meaning inside it. They understand that every disciplined moment is a declaration, I am in control. I am the master, not the servant. And when you reach that mindset, something profound happens. The struggle starts to fade. You stop seeing hard work as pain. You see it as peace. Think about the greatest achievers in history, Edison. Ford, Carnegie, Mandela, Jobs, none of them were driven by ease. They were driven by devotion. Discipline wasn't a burden to them. It was a form of worship. Every hour of work was a brick laid in service to their purpose. Every repetition was an offering to the life they were building. That's what you must cultivate, the sacred view of effort. Because when you see your actions as sacred, discipline transforms into joy. But let's be honest, this shift takes practice. Your brain has been trained for instant gratification. You've been conditioned by the world to chase pleasure now and pay later. So you have to reverse that wiring. You have to teach your brain to enjoy the things that truly serve you. When you eat healthy, tell yourself, I'm fueling my future. When you read instead of scroll, I'm expanding my mind. When you choose focus over distraction, I'm strengthening my power. Your inner language becomes your identity, and your identity decides your destiny. Remember, repetition rewires emotion. At first, it feels forced, but that's how all growth begins: uncomfortable, unnatural, uncertain. Keep doing it. Your mind will catch up. One day you'll wake up and realize you no longer need to convince yourself to stay disciplined. It's simply who you are. You'll crave focus. You'll enjoy the quiet. You'll start feeling uncomfortable when you waste time because your mind now values purpose more than pleasure. That's real freedom. Hill often said that success is a state of mind long before it's a state of life. That's because the mind you train today becomes the reality you live tomorrow. If you want to live with power, train your brain to love the process that builds it. Because the man who finds peace in discipline can outlast the man who only acts when inspired, one is fueled by feeling. The other is fueled by faith. Faith that every right action, no matter how small, is shaping something greater than what he can see. So don't force yourself to suffer through what's important. Train yourself to love it, to see it as the most sacred part of your day, the time when you align with your higher self. Because when you love what matters, discipline is no longer a battle. It's a bond between who you are and who you're becoming. And that bond, once formed, is unbreakable. Your greatest enemy in today's world isn't failure, it's distraction. Noise is everywhere. It's not just in your environment, it's in your pocket. Your mind, your habits, every ping, every notification, every meaningless scroll is a small theft, a theft of your focus, your clarity, your life. Napoleon Hill warned nearly a century ago about the drifting mind, the man who moves without direction because he allows outside forces to guide his thoughts. Today, those forces are louder, smarter, and far more addictive. If you don't learn to protect your attention, someone else will profit from it. Your focus is sacred. It's the gateway to every dream, every breakthrough, every form of mastery. And yet, most people guard their money more than they guard their mind. They allow anyone and anything to interrupt their peace, their phone, their inbox, their thoughts. They live in constant reaction, like mental marionettes being pulled by strings they don't even see. But no man or woman ever built greatness by reacting or for. You rise only when you learn to respond with purpose, not impulse. That begins with a single decision to treat your attention like gold. Because in truth it is. Every morning, you wake up with a limited supply of mental energy, and everything you focus on spends a little of it. When you waste it on small things, You'll have nothing left for the big things that could change your life. That's why so many people feel exhausted without doing anything meaningful. They've spent their mental wealth on noise. Noise disguised as news. Noise disguised as urgency. Noise disguised as entertainment. But it's still noise, and it's silently robbing you of the life you could be living. The man who guards his focus like a fortress becomes unstoppable. He doesn't allow chaos to enter his gates. He decides what gets his energy and what doesn't. He controls his inputs because he understands this law. What enters your mind shapes what exits your life. Your results are only as strong as your concentration. Your peace is only as strong as your boundaries. If you want a focused mind, you must first build a quiet life. That means simplifying, not by removing ambition, but by removing distraction. Start small. Turn off notifications that don't serve you. Silence the endless buzzing of things that don't move you forward. You don't owe the world your constant availability. You owe yourself your undivided attention. If something or someone drains your energy but adds no value, create distance. Not out of arrogance, but out of respect. Because your peace is not a luxury. It's a prerequisite for greatness. The truth is, a distracted mind is a defeated mind. You cannot think deeply when your thoughts are fragmented. You cannot plan your future while reacting to every impulse. You cannot create when you're constantly consuming, and yet that's how most people live, scrolling, switching, chasing stimulation like moths to a flame. They think they're connected, but they're actually disconnected from themselves, from their purpose, from their power. To escape this, you must become deliberator. You must train your mind to be comfortable in stillness again. At first, silence will feel uncomfortable. You'll reach for your phone, your music, your distractions. But if you sit through it, you'll find something extraordinary: clarity. Clarity is what the world is starving for, because clarity creates conviction. And conviction creates power, but clarity only appears in quiet minds. You will never hear your intuition while listening to everyone else. So spend time alone, not scrolling, not planning, not performing, just thinking. Let your mind breathe. That's when ideas appear. That's when creativity wakes up. That's when your inner voice starts speaking again, the same voice that told Hill, whatever the mind of man can conceive and believe, it can achieve. You can't conceive or believe anything in chaos. You can only do it in calm. Protecting your focus also means building routines that defend it automatically. Your mind is weak against temptation, so don't rely on willpower. Rely on design. Create environments that promote depth. Keep your workspace clean, your phone out of reach, your schedule clear. Structure your day around what truly matters. And don't let trivialities invade that space. Think of it like training a guard at the gate of your mind. Every distraction that knocks your job is to ask, does this deserve my energy? If not, the answer is simple: deny entry. Remember this: the man who cannot control his attention will never control his destiny. You can have talent, ambition, even opportunity, but without focus. All of it leaks away. Hill once said, a mind out of control is a mind without direction, and a mind without direction drifts toward noise, toward confusion, toward regret. But a disciplined mind cuts through chaos like a blade. It knows what matters. It moves with intention. It creates momentum that no distraction can stop. So, remove the noise. Guard your peace. Build mental walls high enough to block what weakens you, but wide enough to let truth and purpose in. The world will try to invade your mind with its urgency. Don't let it. Remember, you are not a servant of your devices. Your feed or your impulses, you are the master of your focus. And when you finally live that truth, the noise of the world will fade. And the voice of your purpose will grow louder than ever before. That is when you will rise calm, centered, and unstoppable. Average is easy. Average is comfortable. Average is everywhere, and that's exactly why you must reject it. The moment you decide to live above average, you will stand alone. You'll feel misunderstood, doubted, even mocked, because mediocrity always attacks what reminds it of its own weakness. But remember this truth: you are not designed to blend in. You were built to rise. Napoleon Hill taught that success begins the instant a man demands more from himself than anyone else ever will. The world won't hand you excellence. You have to choose it, protect it, and fight for it every single day. Average people wait for conditions to be right. Winners create the conditions. Average people follow moods. Winners follow principles. Average people look for permission. Winners decide. The difference isn't intelligence, it's standards. Your standards are invisible boundaries that tell the world how to treat you and tell your mind how to behave. When you lower them, everything in your life drops to meet them. Your focus, your discipline, your results all adjust downward to match what you tolerate. So if you tolerate lateness, distraction, or excuses, you are training your brain to settle for less than you're capable of, and once you start tolerating less, you will soon forget what great feels like. Hill said, "Whatever you compromise to keep, you eventually lose." He was right. Compromise with your standards long enough, and you lose your edge. Lose your edge. And you lose your purpose. Lose your purpose. And you begin to drift softly, quietly, back into the crowd. The crowd celebrates comfort. The elite celebrate challenge. If you want to be extraordinary, you must live by rules that ordinary people avoid. You must demand precision in your work, intention in your choices, and excellence in the smallest details, not because anyone is watching, but because you are. Integrity is doing what's right when it's inconvenient. Standards mean holding yourself accountable when it would be easier to let it slide. Every time you honor your standard, you send a signal to your subconscious: this is who I am now. That's how self-respect is built, not through affirmations, but through alignment. Raising your standards doesn't mean perfection. It means refusing to live below your potential. It means you stop accepting the version of you that says, "This is enough." Because enough is the language of mediocrity. Greatness begins when you look at your results, your habits, your environment, and say, "This may be good, but it's not my best." That's when your life begins to shift, because energy flows where excellence is demanded. When you raise your expectations, your effort automatically follows. When you hold yourself to a higher standard, you attract people and opportunities that match it. That's not motivation, that's physics. You don't get what you want. You get what you are willing to demand from yourself. So stop negotiating with mediocrity. Stop pretending average will one day lead to exceptional. It never does. Comfort kills ambition. Say no fast to anything that lowers your energy, distracts your mind, or wastes your potential. Say no to gossip, laziness, overthinking, and excuses. Say no to the part of you that still seeks validation from the crowd, because the crowd isn't going where you're going. Protect your standards as if your destiny depends on them, because it does. The man who raises his standards raises his life. Every level of success you dream of lives on the other side of one decision to stop settling. Refuse to shrink to fit the comfort of others. Refuse to let good enough be your ceiling, because the moment you demand greatness from yourself, life starts giving you nothing less than that. Time is the only currency that cannot be earned back. Once it's spent, it's gone forever. You can lose money and recover it. You can lose confidence and rebuild it. But the moment you waste time, as you trade a piece of your life for nothing in return, Napoleon Hill said, "Every minute you spend in planning saves 10 minutes in execution." That is the law of intentional time. Yet most people drift through their days without structure, reacting to notifications, chasing noise, letting the world set their priorities for them. They don't run their day. Their day runs them. Here's the truth. If you don't lead your day will lead you astray. Time doesn't disappear, it gets stolen. Stolen by distractions, by indecision, by the illusion of busyness. Hill called this the death by drifting. A man wakes up with good intentions, but no plan. He reacts instead of directs. And by the time the sun sets, he's exhausted, but nothing meaningful has been done. That is the modern trap: being busy, but not productive, running hard, but in circles, exerting effort, but not advancing purpose. To master your time, you must first master your attention. Focus is the steering wheel of time. Without focus, even the fastest car goes nowhere. You must know what truly matters, then build your entire day around it. Start by identifying your vital few, the few actions that create the biggest results. Not everything is equal. In fact, most things don't matter. 80% of your progress will come from 20% of your effort. That's not theory, it's law. And the successful man doesn't try to do it all. He does the few things that matter relentlessly. Hill once wrote, "The man who does not keep a schedule is a slave to chance. So design your day before it begins." Don't wake up wondering what to do. Wake up knowing what must be done. Use your first hour as sacred time. No messages, no distractions, no noisy. This is your command center, the space where you decide how your day will unfold. Plan your top 3 priorities, the work that moves you closer to your purpose. Then block your time as if your dreams depend on it, because they do. Every interruption costs you not just minutes, but momentum. And momentum, once lost, takes hours to rebuild. Your goal is not to fill every hour, it's to make every hour count. Don't measure your day by how much you did. Measure it by how much mattered. Every decision should pass through one simple filter. Does this align with my definite purpose? If yes, act with intensity. If no, eliminate it without apology. That's how masters operate. They're not faster, they're clearer. They don't multitask, they prioritize. They understand that saying no is a leadership skill, because every yes to the wrong thing steals power from the right thing. Here's the paradox. When you begin to control your time, you realize time was never the problem. It was clarity. It was focus. It was fear disguised as busyness. Your life changes the moment you treat time as sacred. Every hour becomes an investment. Every decision becomes deliberate. You stop drifting through days and start designing them. You are not here to exist in routine. You are here to build a legacy. As Hill said, a man who wastes 1 hour of time has not yet discovered the value of life. So guard your hours like gold. Defend your minutes from mediocrity. Plan with purpose. Act with urgency. And live each day as if your future depends on it, because it does. Time is not your enemy. It is your greatest ally if you lead it. So from this moment forward, decide that you will never again drift through your days. You will rise each morning not as a servant to time, but as its master. You can't master your life by managing time alone, because time without energy is useless. You can have 24 hours in a day, but if your energy is scattered, your focus weak, your emotion drained, then every hour becomes empty. Napoleon Hill understood this long before energy management became a modern idea. He called it the vibration of purpose. When a man aligns his thoughts, emotions, and actions with one definite purpose, he enters a frequency that multiplies his power. In that state, work feels lighter, creativity flows naturally, and obstacles lose their weight. You become magnetic, attracting ideas, people, and opportunities that match your energy. But when you lose alignment, when you live in stress, doubt, or distraction, you leak power. The goal is simple. Stop trying to manage time. Start mastering energy. Energy comes from alignment, not caffeine. From clarity, not chaos. From motion, not overthinking. Most people feel tired not because they do too much, but because they do too many things that don't matter. Every task that pulls you away from your purpose drains a piece of your vitality. Every argument, every worry, every meaningless scroll, it all drains your power. Hill once said, "Your mind is both your greatest servant and your greatest thief. If you don't direct it, it will steal from you your joy, your energy, your potential." Energy obeys focus. Whatever you dwell on expands. So if you think about problems, you'll multiply them. If you think about purpose, you'll magnify it. When your thoughts are disciplined, your energy rises automatically. That's why meditation, stillness, and visualization are not luxuries. They're training for your inner power. Even 10 minutes of silence can reset your energy more than hours of frantic activity. Because the mind, like a blade, must be sharpened by stillness before it can cut through noise. To protect your energy, start with your inputs. What you see, hear, and repeat becomes the atmosphere of your mind. If you consume negativity, you will emit it. If you feed your brain low-quality thoughts, don't be surprised when your life mirrors that quality. Guard your energy the way a king guards his crown. That means being ruthless with what you allow into your inner world. Choose environments that strengthen you. Choose people who expand you. Choose activities that recharge you. And eliminate anything that leaves you feeling smaller, weaker, or drained. This isn't selfish, it's survival. Hill taught that every thought has a frequency, and that frequency either attracts or repels opportunity. When you are focused, grateful, and disciplined, your energy emits confidence, and life responds in kind. When you are scattered, complaining, or fearful, you repel success without realizing it. So your emotional state isn't just personal, it's magnetic. It determines who and what finds its way to you. To sustain high energy, balance your mind and body. The mind commands, but the body fuels. Feed it well. Rest deeply. Move daily. You cannot think clearly with a neglected body, and you cannot act powerfully with an undirected mind. The secret is rhythm. Hill said, "Nature does everything by rhythm. Learn to live in harmony with it." That means cycles of effort and recovery, intensity followed by stillness, discipline balanced with peace. Energy thrives in rhythm, not chaos. The man who learns when to act and when to rest can accomplish in a month what others can't in a year. And here's the most important truth. Energy follows emotion. If you fill your day with resentment, frustration, or self-doubt, you're poisoning your own power source. Gratitude, faith, and purpose, on the other hand, act like generators. They keep your energy high even when circumstances are heavy. That's why Hill wrote, "Faith is the eternal elixir which gives life, power, and action to the impulse of thought." Faith is energy in motion. It turns tired moments into determination and obstacles into stepping stones. So don't just manage your hours, command your state. Wake up with intention. Move with clarity. Protect your peace. When your energy is aligned with purpose, your time multiplies in value. Every minute becomes potent. Every effort becomes meaningful. And when you reach that level, you don't just live efficiently, you live powerfully. Because the man who controls his energy controls the direction, quality, and destiny of his entire life. There's only one moment you can control this one. Not yesterday, not tomorrow. Now, every great achievement in history began the same way, with a decision made in the present moment. Napoleon Hill said, "Do it now. Don't wait. The time will never be just right." Those 6 words contain the entire secret of success, because someday is not on the calendar. Later is not a strategy, and "when I feel ready" is the most expensive lie you'll ever believe. Your mind will always try to delay what matters. It whispers, "I'll start after this. I just need more time." But here's the truth. The longer you wait, the heavier the task becomes. The more you delay, the more resistance grows. The weight of inaction compounds faster than the weight of effort, and while you're waiting for the right mood, someone else less talented but more decisive is building the life you keep dreaming about. Procrastination is not laziness, it's fear in disguise. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of not being enough. But Hill taught a powerful law. Action cures fear. You can't think your way out of doubt. You can only move through it. Once you act, and clarity returns. Once you begin, fear loses its power, because motion itself is the antidote. Think about this. Every great idea that changed the world was once an uncomfortable decision. Edison didn't wait for a perfect design before inventing the light bulb. Ford didn't wait for approval before building his first car. They acted now. They understood a truth. Most people never learn. It's better to move with uncertainty than to stay still with regret. You don't have to know the whole path to begin. You only need to take the first step in faith. When you act now, something shifts inside you. Your mind wakes up. Your spirit expands. Life starts responding differently because movement creates momentum. That's the unseen law of the universe. Energy rewards initiative. When you move, even a little, you activate forces that were asleep, ideas appear, people show up, opportunities open, but they only reveal themselves to the man in motion. Waiting is the thief of destiny. Every dream dies slowly in the hands of hesitation. You think you're protecting yourself by waiting for the right time, but in reality, you're protecting your comfort and sacrificing your future. The right time doesn't exist. There is only this time, and the man who uses it wins. Hill wrote in The Law of Success. Successful people make decisions quickly and change them slowly. Unsuccessful people make decisions slowly and change them quickly. The longer you take to decide, the weaker your will becomes. Indecision drains energy faster than hard work ever could. Every minute spent thinking, should I, is a minute stolen from I did. So make the decision, take the step, send the message, start the work, do it now. When you build the habit of acting immediately, you stop negotiating with your dreams. You stop letting fear run the conversation. You train your brain to respond with commitment instead of hesitation. And that habit of decisive, immediate action is the ultimate superpower. Because once you master it, you never fall behind again. You may fail, you may stumble, but you'll always move forward. And that's what guarantees victory. So if you've been waiting for a sign, this is it. Not tomorrow. Not when you feel ready. Now. Because someday you'll look back and realize that every transformation in your life started with one bold moment of action, one moment when you stopped waiting and started becoming. The world doesn't reward the man who intends. It rewards the man who acts. So act now, before the moment passes, because this right here is where destiny begins. You've made it here, and that means something. It means you're not like the average man who drifts through his days. You are someone who seeks growth, who refuses to settle, who is ready to force yourself to do what truly matters. Now you understand what separates the weak from the unstoppable. It's not talent. It's not luck. It's the discipline to act when it's uncomfortable, to move when others hesitate, to focus when the world distracts. You have the same 24 hours as every great person before you, but now you have something more: awareness. The awareness that time, energy, and attention are your greatest assets. And every decision you make from this moment forward either compounds your greatness or delays it. So let this be the line you never cross again. No more drifting. No more waiting for someday. No more chasing noise. From now on, your purpose leads, your discipline follows, and success becomes inevitable because, as Napoleon Hill said, what the mind of man can conceive and believe it can achieve, and you right now are proof of that truth in motion. So the next step is simple, but powerful. Take one action today, something that aligns with what matters most. It can be small, but it must be now, because your new life doesn't begin when you plan it. It begins when you act on it. If this message spoke to your soul, make sure you subscribe to Think Rich Mindset Hub. Join a community of people who refuse to live average lives, who are building wealth, purpose, and peace through the timeless principles of Napoleon Hill. And remember, this channel isn't here to entertain you. It's here to awaken you, because the power to transform your life is already in your hands. All that's left is to use it. Do it now. Act with faith. Live with purpose. And never again settle for less than who you were meant to be.